I don't know. Does this mean that the Mando's sort of on his way out? G'day guys and welcome back to Raging Rhino. Alright, I just finished watching episode 6 of season 2 of The Mandalorian, chapter 14 called The Tragedy. This episode was a good episode, action-packed, visually it was fine. I feel like The Mandalorian was a kind of a background character again in this episode. He's been a background character in pretty much every episode so far this season. And something happens in this episode that makes me think that maybe The Mandalorian is being pushed out a little bit and this is turning into the Boba Fett show. But we'll get into that as we get into the spoilers. So pretty much if you haven't watched the episode, go and watch it and come back and watch the review. If you have watched it, let's get straight into it. Okay, so it starts off with the child and the Mandalorian traveling to Tython to put the child on the Seeing Stone. While they're traveling there, the child has the little ball, Mandalorian takes it off him, and it's sort of like a little training moment, and the child gets a little flustered by Mando's reaction, and there's nothing really much in it. They arrive on Tython. Mando puts him on the Seeing Stone. He starts walking around it, trying to figure out how this works, saying that Ahsoka pretty much said, I've just got to bring you here and you should be able to do the rest. He then pretty much activates it. The child, Grogu, activates the temple, you could say, and shoots this beam straight up. It's this big blue light shooting out into the universe. While that's happening, Boba Fett in Slave 1 shows up. You see the ship come down and land, and Mando thinks, all right, we're going to get out of here. So he goes up to the child. He's trying to put his arms through the beam that the child is projecting, this big blue beam, and he can't get him out, and it pretty much pushes him back and blows him away. He then runs down. He says, I'll try and protect you for as long as possible, but hurry up. Anyway, he runs off, confronts Boba Fett. Boba Fett tells him that he's got a trained sniper locked onto the child and to lower his blasters and take off his jetpack and let's have a conversation. Of course, it turns out that the sniper is Fennec. So from the season 1 episode where Fennec dies, this is where, of course, Boba Fett saved her life and everyone was right in regards to that being Boba Fett. I think we all already knew that though. So the conversation between them comes down to Boba Fett saying that he wants his armor, and if he gives him his armor, I'll protect you and the child. While this conversation is all taking place, there's an Imperial shuttle that shows up, and of course Mando runs off to go and save the child, and Boba Fett and Fennec are left to shoot and kill all of these troopers that are coming off these transports. Fennec is pretty cool with her rifle. Doesn't really miss too much. I will say it was a pretty awesome scene, especially seeing Boba Fett using a gaffy stick. That was pretty awesome. He's just crushing skulls. He's crushing masks, the stormtroopers' masks. So it was pretty badass. While all that's going on though, Boba Fett realizes that Mando's ship, the Razor Crest, is wide open, of course, because Mando just leaves his ship open all the time. And thinks that his armor's in there, of course. He runs in there and goes and puts his armor on. Of course, while all that's happening, Mando, when he ran off to go and get the child, he attempted again to put his arms through, got blown back, but got knocked out this time. That's why he wasn't there in that original fight. He wakes up and says, I'll give you as much time as I can, and runs off to go and help Fennec and Boba Fett, essentially. Not long after, though, he runs off, the child finishes doing the beam thing and the beam disappears. Now, there is a wide shot where you see this beam shooting up into the sky. You can see it. It's not long after the Mando runs away the second time and says, I'll protect you, that the beam disappears. He could have literally turned around and gone back and grabbed the child, because you can see this thing from miles away. So that was one of my issues. And the other issue is him leaving his ship open all the time. I mean, he's had this thing wrecked that many times and he just leaves it open. Okay, cool. Didn't he learn from the Jawas episode in season 1? Anyway, so Mando's gone off to help them with the fight against the troopers, Boba Fett shows up now in his armor and kicks ass again, putting Mando again in the back seat. The scene is awesome. Visually looks sick. It's awesome seeing Boba Fett kick some ass, live action like this. It was awesome. But again, it puts the Mando in the back seat. Of course, the troopers retreat. After they retreat, the Imperial cruiser shoots a blast and destroys the Razor Crest. Boom. There's no coming back. There's no Razor Crest anymore. All those people that invested in that funding for the toy, I don't know what you invested in anymore. The ship is gone. I don't know if you can find another Razor Crest out there, but there's no repairing this ship. So, of course, Boba Fett's worried about Slave One. He flies off after the troopers, after they take the child from the Seeing Stone, and he chases them. He says the Empire's back, and he comes back down and talks to Mando again. Basically says that I promised that I would protect the child and you, and now the Empire has the child. So our deal isn't over yet because I need to get the child back into your hands. And he also proves that the armor is his and that his chain code is built into the armor. Now, the other issue that I do have here is they put a tracking beacon on the Razor Crest, but what happened to tracking fobs? I thought all they had to do was have the thing's DNA or something. I thought they were able to track the child through tracking fobs. I don't know why they needed to put a tracking beacon on the ship when they've got tracking fobs. Again, another thing from season 1 that they've completely dropped for me is the tracking fobs. They don't know how to answer that question. And of course, this is what we get. Now, also, because the Mandalorian ship has now been destroyed, it's, again, the Boba Fett show. We're now traveling around in Slave One. Boba Fett's on the team. Fennec's on the team. It's a pretty badass team, but they're all on the team. And I don't know. Does this mean that the Mando's sort of on his way out? I'm not too sure. I'm very curious to know what you all think about that. So Boba Fett in Slave One takes Mando back to the planet where Cara Dune is, and she is a marshal now for the New Republic. She's got a seal and everything, and she's gone on the straight and narrow. Mando says, I need your help to get the Bill Burr character, I can't remember the name of his actual character, out of prison, the New Republic prison, so that he can help them with rescuing the child. I'm not too sure exactly why he needs to get him out of the prison, but he wants Cara Dune's help to get him out of that prison. She goes, no, there's rules that go along with having this seal. And Mando goes, well, they've got the child. So that's going to change her mind now, and she's going to help out and go off the straight and narrow pretty much as soon as she goes on the straight and narrow. It then cuts to Moff Gideon walking into the prison that they've locked the child in, and the child is just throwing these two stormtroopers around. He's got them both in a choke at the same time, and then he smashes them against each other, and they're throwing around the room. And of course, his force mana meter, he's used too much of it, so he's now tired and sleepy. And Moff Gideon tries to have a conversation with him, and I think the child's trying to choke him or something, and the trooper stuns him and puts him to sleep. And that's essentially where the episode ends. This episode, again, visually was quite good. The action in it was really good. I loved seeing Boba Fett fight the way he fought and use his armor the way he used it. It was pretty cool. For me, again, Mando, he did have a few scenes in this and a few action scenes, but again, he was very much a background character and overshadowed by Boba Fett's badassery. So, all in all, this episode gets a 6 out of 10. No, it gets a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 for me. Visually, it was good. Again, though, it loses points for a couple of the decisions made by Mando. A couple of the things that I saw that I was like, hold on a second, wouldn't you just do this? Especially with when the beam stops with the child. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the episode. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Did you like this episode? What did you think? And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you next week for episode 7. Later.